Two brothers and a fish on a Monday and the weekend. The United States was sort of flipped upside down and around. At a lot of airports, you saw protests for hashtag Muslim ban or the United States travel order that was put in place. However you kind of want to phrase it. I think the travel order perhaps is the more correct term to use to describe what the policy was put in place over the weekend, which had a lot of people from select countries detained at the airport for a select amount of time. Now, eventually, executive order overturned by judges. You can get into it by watching CNN or whatever your favorite news source is to kind of figure out the details surrounding it. But for us, kind of talk about how it affected or could affect sports in a way. The NBA over the weekend, they had a spokesperson sort of say that they have reached out to the government to basically be like, okay, how does this order affect our guys in our league? Kind of like Thon Maker, guy from Sudan, who now has to kind of wonder what his future is because you have a game out of the country, trying to get back in. Will he be allowed? He's a starter for the Milwaukee Bucks now. Yeah. It just creates a little bit of uncertainty in our sports landscape.
I mean, it's weird where there's two sides of this world now where you've got to say, okay, I'm a member of this establishment, I have to follow the rules, and then you see the other side, which is us as sports fans. We want our best players to be able to be on the court, and you want to see certain things. It's like, it's weird when one side bridges into the other, and it affects both sides at this point. The good news is Thon Maker went and played in Toronto, and he was able to make it back to the United States unharmed, unfazed. They played it up real big in Milwaukee. They said, goodbye, Thon Maker. We'll see if you make it back. And then when he did finally make it back, they said, congratulations, he is back. We don't know how this is going to play out moving forward. You've got other guys who are affected by this. Luol Deng is another one who's potentially affected. It's not the great majority of players who are affected, but we're starting to see how this is affecting not just the players themselves, but also their families, which makes for a very, very touchy situation moving forward.
It's definitely tenuous. I feel like you got to walk on eggshells because sports conversation, you typically want to stay away from political discussions, but sometimes in situations like this, you can't avoid it, right?
I think we'd be doing a disservice to our fans, to our listeners, by not touching on situations that are of this magnitude that affect the games we watch on an everyday basis. These sports have become not just domestic products. These have now become global products that are consumed in every other country. You look at the NFL is going to be broadcast in 250 different countries. We have now this international game, and it is being affected on a daily basis now, thanks to any of the rulings that we've seen in the government. And I don't care what side you're on, it is now affecting things, and it's going to be interesting to navigate moving forward.
Mitch, what do you think of the reactions that some of the sports figures have had, whether it's Steve Kerr and his comments after the Portland game where he basically said that this was, something that makes him feel pretty sad, or you have on the other side where it was Sage Steele, the ESPN reporter, who basically said, well, I missed my flight, so this thing isn't exactly working because the protest was inconvenient for her.
I would talk to Arthur Blank, maybe Steve Kroenke, when they're building these stadiums. They're saying, we're going to build the Mercedes-Benz Georgia Dome to host a World Cup, to host an Olympics. This isn't just an NFL stadium anymore. With this ban, you can't host it. So you can say, Arthur Blank, we know you just spent $1 billion of taxpayer money on this stadium. It's only a football stadium now.
You have dilemmas. It does raise questions, and I'm sure that some of these questions will be answered and some of the conflicts will be approached as we continue to move on. Until then, two brothers and a fish. Thanks for watching.